G'day guys, how are you going? Look, this week's question has come from Gail. Now Gail has asked, is there any day trips that we can do from Talbotville without too much backtracking, or should we take a tent and camp overnight somewhere on the track? Well, I'm thinking there's only one place to come and answer this question, right here in Talbotville. So let's go and find a spot and we'll check out what tracks that you can go and do in and out from here. Okay, so the short answer to Gail's question about is what tracks you can do in and out of Talbotville, well, there is plenty. Now this is a great place to come base camp, particularly if you've got a camper trailer. Set it up here, you can easily spend 3 or 4 days here just going in and out and seeing some great country. But if you haven't got this map already, grab this map here. This is the Dargo Wanangata map. It's a rooftop map, extremely well detailed, covers all the tracks that we're certainly going to talk about, plus plenty more outside those areas. And the next point I would like to make is the tracks we're going to speak about, they're mainly only open during the track opening season, so from Melbourne Cup weekend in November right through to Queen's birthday weekend in June. That is the time when all these tracks are open that we're going to speak about. So before we get started, the river crossing up the top there, we'll call that the north end of Talbotville, and the one down the bottom here, we'll call that the south end of Talbotville. That crossing down there, the south end. But this is a great location, right on the Crooked River, well worth coming to check it out. Now there's 3 probably main trips that I certainly do when I base camp out from here. And the first one is, I do that run up to Blue Rag Range Track, and you can quite easily do that from here. And there's a couple of ways you can go. You can either, if you're pretty experienced, you've got a well set up 4-wheel drive, you could head out through the north end of Talbotville here, cross the river and head up South Basalt Knob Track. Now South Basalt is a pretty full-on track, so you'd really only want to go that way to Blue Rag if you've got a well set up vehicle and it's certainly extremely experienced in steep country, because that is a pretty steep track, and only do that if you've got those couple of things going on. Otherwise, head out the south end here, cross the river, take the high road up to right up there, then that's called Brewery Creek Track. Very easy run all the way through, but extremely scenic too. You'll get some amazing scenic views along that track, and follow that all the way through until you get to up the train carriage up there. Now the train carriage, I don't quite know how that train carriage got there, but it's an old refrigerator van from back in those days. Now the big tube across the top, that's where all the ice and everything would have gone in there. So it was a cool van to probably carting meat or something back in those days, but it's really interesting to see how there's a train carriage way out there in the middle of the bush. So once you finish having a look at the train carriage, then head straight across onto North Basalt Knob Track. The North Basalt Knob's fairly easy run, couple of steep sections as you're approaching Blue Rag. One particular tight switchback in there, but you'll get around that, no worries. But take that all the way through until you get to where it meets up with Blue Rag Range Track. Follow Blue Rag all the way up to the summit and check out the view from there. Amazing views, and this is well worth doing for a day trip. So you'd have lunch up there, probably allow from here probably about 2.5 hours sort of thing to get up to the summit from Blue Rag from here. And then after you've had lunch, come back down Blue Rag and continue all the way through. So take it all the way through to the Dargo High Plain Road, then come down the Dargo High Plain Road, back down McMillan's Road, which is the main road down into Talbotville here, and then come back to camp. Or you could even turn off further back up the road up there onto Bulltown Spur Track, head down Bulltown Spur, and then take the 24 river crossings back into here. Now that is a really nice drive, so certainly well worth doing that one. But that's a great day drive. So that's the first one. The second one is go up to the summit at the Pinnacles, so up Billy Goat Bluff Track. Again, head out the south end here of Talbotville, cross the river and take the low road, which is the Crooked River Track. Follow that all the way through. You do about 5 or 6 crossings between here and Kingswell Bridge. Cross over at Kingswell Bridge, or drive across the river if it's safe enough to drive across. Follow that road all the way around till you get the start of Billy Goat Bluff Track. Wind your way up Billy Goat Bluff. Now Billy Goat's a fantastic track, extremely scenic, some magnificent lookouts on it. It's fairly challenging in spots, but well worth going up there for the drive. So follow that all the way to the top until you join up with Moroka Road, then hang a lefty and then just follow that all the way through for a couple of k's until you get the car parked there at the Pinnacles. Get out, have some lunch there. That'll take you a good couple of hours to do that trip up through there, and then come back the same way. You could also even do Randalls and Conway Track, which is along that Crooked River Track. Now they're fairly steep again tracks, so again only have a crack at those if you're well set up vehicle and you've got some good experience in some steep country. But if you don't want to do Randalls and Conway Track, just continue along the Crooked River Track back into here. And then the third one that I generally like to do from here is a run into Wonnagatta. Now you can quite easily do Wonnagatta station from here. So again, out through the south end, take the low road along Crooked River until you get to the start of Racecourse track. You'll see Crooked River track will veer up onto the left up there, up the hill. Just continue straight across onto Racecourse Road, then up Station Track, and that meets up with Cynthia Range at the top. And this is a great drive, really scenic drive. Cynthia Range is a pretty easy run across the top there. And then till you meet up with Wombat Range track, take a turn right onto Wombat Range, all the way down Wombat Range. Now there's a couple of ways you can go here. Where it meets up with Hern Spur track, you can zip down Hern Spur and then you'll do 5 or 6 crossings of the Wonnagatta River down at the bottom. Now Hern Spur's again very steep track, but certainly well worth doing. Beautiful track, great scenics to have a look at. So just follow the Wonnagatta River all the way through until you join up with the Wonnagatta track, and then just wind your way through. Now Wonnagatta track's a pretty easy drive. All the way through to Wonnagatta. Now allow about 3 hours to get from Talbotville up to Wonnagatta. So you go up there, have some lunch and come back. Could come back the same way, or once you get to that first crossing coming back of the Wonnagatta River, instead of turning right to do the trip back up to Hern Spur, you could continue straight ahead until it meets up with Wombat Range track, and then just take the track up Wombat Range, back onto Cynthia Range, down Station Track, Racecourse Track, back into here. Now there's 3 magnificent trips you can certainly do from there. There's a couple of other options you can certainly go and do. Another short one that I like to go and do if we've got the time in an afternoon is head out back through the north end of Talbotville and do the 24 river crossings. Now there's 24 river crossings of the Crooked River within 7 kilometres, so they're pretty close together. It's a beautiful drive, some amazing scenics through there with some big gorges and things, so well worth doing that. And then head all the way up through the final crossing of the 24 until you meet up with Bulltown Spur track. Head up Bulltown Spur until it crosses McMillan's Road further way up the road up there. Now from there you could either just come back into Talbotville, or I like to continue straight across McMillan's Road, pick up Bulltown Spur on the other side, follow that through until you meet up with Collingwood Spur track. Now Collingwood Spur is again another very scenic country. It's all very scenic around here, it's just beautiful country. But head down Collingwood Spur track, and then once you get past the big lookout, which looks across to Billygoat and all the rest of it, then it drops off quite steeply, dip back down to the Crooked River. Now it does branch off just before you get to the bottom. There's 2 tracks that branch off left and right in a Y junction. Both of those will take you back to the Crooked River track. So when you get to the bottom of either one of those, just turn right and wind your way back into here. So there you go, Gail. I hope that one's answered your questions on what you can do in and out of Talbotville. There's plenty of tracks, but just make sure you grab hold of that map, because that is well worth have a look at, and that'll explain everything you got to do. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys out in the bush someday. Keep those questions coming along, and we'll catch you out in the high country someday.